If you are running and constantly out of breath, no matter what you do, this is the video for you. Research shows that breathing techniques vary from runner to runner. So you want to make sure the strategy you use isn't putting you at a disadvantage. In this video, we will cover not just how to breathe, but exactly when to breathe, how to run, and finally, when to run for effortless breathing. Plus, at the end, I'll throw in a bonus tip that will create less breathlessness no matter what your running speed. Specialists say that runners who follow these tips on how to breathe can expect results in as little as 2 weeks. During rest or low intensity exercise, your breath in should be entirely through your nose, with the tongue resting gently against the roof of the mouth, with the back of the tongue lifted upwards. Breathing in this arrangement opens up the airway and reduces air resistance as you inhale. Nasal breathing also warms and moistens the air and allows you to extract 20% more oxygen compared to taking equivalent breaths through the mouth. And as you'll hear from breathing experts like the ones I interview on the Run Smarter podcast, how deep and how fast you breathe are 2 really important factors.
Let's take a breath in together now, a big one. And then exhale a quarter of the air. And this is where patients are essentially breathing from. They're actually shifting a lot of air, but not ventilating the lungs, which leads to the buildup of carbon dioxide and this level of shortness of breath.
This style of breathing also has a cascade effect because shallow, rapid breathing switches the brain into a fight or flight response, which releases adrenaline, leading to more breathing and therefore breathlessness. So what you need to do this week is practice slow, calm breaths through the nose and to imagine the breath going deep into the belly. This is because the lungs are shaped like a teardrop and breathing into your upper chest severely limits this gas exchange. Practice this for 10 breaths every few hours of your day. Start at complete rest and then transition into walking and then into low intensity exercise. James Nestor, who is the author of Breath, says our lungs start shrinking after the age of 35. But deliberate exercises like this will help retain your lung capacity while also helping you breathe more efficiently. But as exercise intensity increases, it becomes more challenging to breathe purely through the nose. So make a conscious effort to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth in a rhythmic, calm state, up until that certain intensity that urge to mouth breathe starts to dominate. Then make the switch while still adopting a deep, calm rhythm. Now we know the right breathing techniques, let's talk about timing of your breath. When you breathe in, your diaphragm needs to drop and flatten. This creates a negative air pressure that draws air in. With this in mind, here is a clever tip to help make breathing easier.
If you can time your inhalation with your foot strike, then the diaphragm is going to get a free ride, right? Just due to gravity, therefore leading to less work during breathing, making breathing easier.
This is the second thing you can practice this week. On your next run, every time you breathe in, time it with a foot strike. How many steps you take per breath will depend on your step rate, your breathing efficiency, and the exercise intensity. For example, on my easy runs, I might breathe in 4 steps, out 4 steps, trying to time my inhale with my foot strike. So as I strike the ground, I'll breathe in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4. But as the intensity increases, I might switch up that ratio and breathe in 3 steps, out 3 steps. So that might look like this. In 2, 3, out 2, 3, in 2, 3, out 2, 3. All while making sure I follow the earlier instructions, breathing slow, deep, and in through the nose if possible. So play around with these ratios of steps to breaths until you find a steady rhythm. Now that we have covered how and when to breathe, let's talk about your training and running technique to help your breathing. Firstly, being calm and in control of your breathing during a continuous running bout requires a high level of fitness and experience. Have the reassurance and understanding to know that if you are a new runner, feeling out of breath is not only common, but normal. Over time and with enough repetition, your body will become familiar with running and build a self-optimized technique that requires less oxygen. In addition, while you're putting the necessary miles in the legs, your body will adapt to the demands of running, such as building the necessary transport systems to shuttle carbon dioxide and oxygen in and out of the cells. And while adaptation takes time, you can accelerate this process by doing shorter, more frequent runs throughout the week at a very low intensity. Think of it like more running days means more opportunities for the body to recognize the stimulus of running and to adapt accordingly, while the shorter, slower runs help prevent burnout, overload, and injury. This brings me to something very important. If you are out of breath when running, you need to make sure you're not running too fast. Zone 2 training is a popular term these days, but is essentially a very low intensity exercise that still triggers the body to adapt. Here are some likely pace ranges based on your typical marathon finish times. So if you are a 4-hour marathoner, we are talking 6:30 to 7 minute per kilometer pace or a 10:30 to 11 minute per mile. If you haven't run a marathon before, here are some 5K times as guidelines. And really be honest with yourself. Are you really running this slow on your easy runs? If you are running this slow or slower on these easy runs and you're still disrupted by breathlessness, then follow a walk-run schedule such as a 1-minute walk every 2 minutes for 15 minutes. You can then follow this progression chart to work your way through towards continuous running. But be realistic with your expectations. And don't be so hard on yourself. If continuous running leads to breathlessness, remember, only experienced runners will look calm when running continuously. And it takes time, patience, and miles in the legs to reach this level of adaptation. If you have tried all of this already and still have breathlessness, just wait at the end for my bonus tip. But let me also share some quick-fire tips on when to run if you are breathless. 1. Opt for cooler times of the day. 2. Keep a flat terrain. 3. Walk the uphills if completely flat tracks are unavoidable. 4. Find well-shaded running paths. 5. Aim to run when humidity is at its lowest. And 6. Avoid running immediately after a large meal, as a full stomach can make breathing feel more labored. Now, before I reveal my bonus tip to have less breathlessness at any running speed, I want to share a new resource that will help any running goal you have, and it is called the Run Smarter AI Assistant. For example, I can type in, what breathing exercises can I do to help my breathlessness when running? And not only does it suggest a few topics we've already given, such as nasal breathing and timing your foot strike, but also gives practical instructions on 3 breathing exercises you can do at home. But unlike traditional search engines and AI tools that prioritize unreliable sources like blogs and forums, the Run Smarter AI Assistant will generate an answer by drawing from my past podcast episodes, research I used to create these videos, the Run Smarter book, and my database of peer-reviewed research papers. The response even created a clickable link to my breathing podcast episode with James. But we can go one step further and ask something like, what research papers do you have on this topic? Try to have ChatGPT do this. I've tried, it won't. But this tool has recommended several studies, including a 3-week breathing protocol to help runners and a study linking breathing function to half marathon performances. You can use the Run Smarter AI Assistant right now. Just click on the link in the description or find it at the top of the comment section. Let's start this bonus tip with a little experiment. Take a deep breath in and see how long you can hold your breath. Pause this video and time yourself. If you don't like sitting there in silence, then click on the AI Assistant link and watch the explainer video for more details on how it works. Once again, a deep breath in and pause the video now. Okay, so while you were holding your breath, you'll notice the urge to breathe becomes stronger and stronger. This is the body's response to the rise in carbon dioxide. However, people's tolerance to carbon dioxide is different. If you've held your breath for longer than 2 minutes, it's likely you're not as sensitive to this rise. However, if you've scored poorly, you'll benefit from my bonus tip, which is a CO2 tolerance reset.
If we have a build-up of carbon dioxide, that is the most potent stimulator for shortness of breath.
But the good news is you can actually train your body to tolerate higher carbon dioxide levels. And therefore, when you start running and CO2 increases, your breathing will still feel calm and relaxed. Here is what to do to improve your CO2 sensitivity. Step 1, find a running pace that can be done for 10 minutes while breathing in and out only through the nose. Make sure this pace is challenging yet achievable. If your slowest running pace is still too challenging, opt for speed walking or uphill walking. Do this for 10 minutes 1 to 2 times per week, which can even be integrated into your regular weekly runs as a warm-up. Step 2. Every week, try a slightly faster pace. If you have to stop and breathe through your mouth, adjust back to a slower pace. Over time, the body will start to get used to operating with higher and higher CO2 levels, making your weekly runs more enjoyable with less breathlessness. But if you are looking for even better and faster results, you can do additional breathing exercises at home that are scientifically proven to make you feel better in just 3 weeks. And I talk you through the step-by-step process in this next video.